Dynamics of Terrestrial Ecosystems. The Earth's Web. Book 2. By Santiago Machain. Chapter 1. The Web of Life. Imagine standing in a vibrant meadow, where bees dart between wildflowers, birds sing from nearby trees, and a fox silently stalks through the underbrush. Beneath the surface, soil teems with microorganisms breaking down organic matter, while fungi connect plant roots in an underground network. This intricate tapestry of interactions is the web of life, the interconnected relationships that bind organisms within an ecosystem. The web of life is a defining characteristic of terrestrial ecosystems. It is composed of relationships between living organisms, biotic factors, and their non-living environment, abiotic factors. These interactions create a balance that sustains life, drives ecological processes, and enables ecosystems to adapt to change. Understanding this web not only reveals the complexity of life on Earth, but also highlights the delicate balance that keeps ecosystems functional and resilient. What is the web of life? The web of life refers to the interconnected network of interactions between organisms and their environment. It encompasses food webs, symbiotic relationships, and the exchange of energy and matter. Each organism, no matter how small, plays a role in maintaining the structure and function of its ecosystem. Key components of the web of life include 1. Producers. Plants, algae, and other organisms that use sunlight to create energy through photosynthesis. They form the base of the food web. 2. Consumers. Herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and scavengers that rely on producers or other organisms for energy and nutrients. 3. Decomposers. Fungi, bacteria, and other organisms that break down dead matter, recycling nutrients back into the ecosystem. These components interact through feeding relationships, symbiosis, and competition, creating a network that supports biodiversity and ecological processes. Feeding relationships. The backbone of the web. One of the most visible aspects of the web of life is the transfer of energy and nutrients through feeding relationships. These relationships are organized into food chains and food webs. 1. Food chains. A food chain is a linear sequence that illustrates how energy moves from one organism to another. For example, grass, producer, rabbit, herbivore, fox, carnivore. While food chains are helpful for understanding basic energy flow, they oversimplify the complexity of ecosystems. 2. Food webs. A food web is a more accurate representation, showing how multiple food chains interconnect. In a forest ecosystem, for example, a single plant may be consumed by insects, deer, and birds, which in turn are eaten by predators like hawks or wolves. Food webs illustrate the redundancy and resilience in ecosystems. If one food source becomes scarce, organisms may switch to others, maintaining balance. 3. Trophic levels. Organisms in food chains and webs are grouped into trophic levels. Producers form the base. Primary consumers, herbivores, feed on producers. Secondary and tertiary consumers, carnivores and omnivores, occupy higher levels. Decomposers complete the cycle by breaking down organic material. Symbiotic relationships in the web of life. Not all interactions in the web of life are about predation. Many species form symbiotic relationships that benefit one or both partners, further strengthening the ecosystem. 1. Mutualism. Both species benefit from the relationship. Example: bees and flowering plants. Bees gain nectar and pollen for food, while plants are pollinated, enabling reproduction. 2. Commensalism. One species benefits while the other is unaffected. Example: birds building nests in trees. The tree provides shelter without being harmed or helped. 3. Parasitism. One species benefits at the expense of another. Example: ticks feeding on deer. The tick gains nutrients, while the deer may suffer blood loss or disease. These relationships create a dynamic balance, where organisms influence each other's survival and reproduction in countless ways. Abiotic factors. The foundation of the web. While the focus is often on living organisms, the non-living components of the environment, abiotic factors, are equally critical to the web of life. These include sunlight, the primary energy source for most ecosystems, driving photosynthesis and influencing climate. Water, essential for all living organisms, it shapes the distribution of species and regulates temperature. Soil, provides nutrients and a physical medium for plants, while supporting countless decomposers. Air, supplies oxygen for respiration and carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. Abiotic factors set the stage for the web of life, determining which organisms can thrive in a particular ecosystem. The balance and resilience of the web. The web of life is not static, it is a dynamic system that adapts to change. However, its resilience depends on the diversity and redundancy of interactions. 1. Biodiversity. A diverse ecosystem is more stable because it has multiple pathways for energy flow and nutrient cycling. For example, if one prey species declines, predators may switch to another, maintaining balance. 2. Keystone species. Some species play outsized roles in the web of life. Removing a keystone species, such as wolves in a forest or sea otters in kelp forests, can destabilize the entire ecosystem, leading to cascading effects. 3. Disturbances. Natural events like wildfires, floods, and storms temporarily disrupt the web of life, but many ecosystems recover through succession. Human activities, however, often cause more severe and lasting damage. Examples of the web of life in action. 1. Rainforest ecosystem. In a tropical rainforest, trees serve as producers, supporting herbivores like monkeys and insects. Predators like jaguars regulate herbivore populations, while decomposers recycle organic matter, enriching the soil. 2. Grassland ecosystem. Grasses feed herbivores like bison and antelope, which are prey for predators like lions and coyotes. The nutrient-rich soil supports plant regrowth, completing the cycle. 3. Desert ecosystem. Limited water shapes a unique web of life, with cacti supporting herbivores like insects and rodents. Predators like snakes and hawks depend on these herbivores for survival, while decomposers recycle scarce organic matter. The web of life reveals the intricate connections that bind all organisms, from the smallest microbes to the largest mammals. These interactions create a dynamic balance that sustains ecosystems and enables them to adapt to change. By studying the web of life, we uncover the interdependence of species and the critical roles they play in maintaining the health and stability of the natural world. Chapter 2. Soil, the foundation of terrestrial ecosystems. Beneath the surface of every terrestrial ecosystem lies an often overlooked yet indispensable component, soil. This dynamic and living system forms the foundation of life on land, providing nutrients for plants, habitat for countless organisms, and a medium for water and nutrient cycling. Soil is not just dirt, it is a complex and vibrant matrix that sustains ecosystems, supports biodiversity, and regulates key ecological processes. Understanding the importance of soil reveals its pivotal role in shaping terrestrial ecosystems. It is not merely a passive backdrop for plant growth but a dynamic system that influences the health and function of entire ecosystems. What is soil? Soil is a natural body composed of minerals, organic matter, water, air, and living organisms. It forms over hundreds to thousands of years through the weathering of rocks and the decomposition of organic materials. This slow process creates a diverse and layered substrate that supports life. 1. Mineral components. Derived from weathered rock, minerals in soil provide essential nutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The mineral composition of soil varies depending on the parent rock and environmental conditions. 2. Organic matter. Decomposed plant and animal materials contribute to organic matter, enriching the soil with nutrients and improving its structure. Organic matter also supports a thriving community of microorganisms. 3. Water and air. Soil acts as a reservoir for water, holding moisture that plants and organisms rely on. Pores in soil allow air to circulate, providing oxygen for roots and soil organisms. 4. Living organisms. Soil is teeming with life, from earthworms and insects to fungi and bacteria. These organisms play critical roles in nutrient cycling, decomposition, and maintaining soil health. The layers of soil. Soil is organized into distinct layers, called horizons, each with unique characteristics. Together, these layers form the soil profile, which reveals the history and composition of the soil. 1. O horizon, organic layer. The topmost layer, rich in organic material such as decomposing leaves and plant debris. This layer supports the highest density of soil organisms and plays a key role in nutrient cycling. 2. A horizon, topsoil. The fertile layer where most plant roots grow. It contains a mix of minerals and organic matter, making it essential for agriculture and natural ecosystems. Topsoil is highly susceptible to erosion, highlighting the importance of conservation. 3. B horizon, subsoil. A layer of mineral accumulation, often containing clay, silt, and nutrients leached from the layers above. While less fertile than topsoil, it plays a role in water retention and root support. 4. Sea horizon, parent material. Composed of partially weathered rock, this layer influences the soil's mineral composition. It is the base from which soil develops over time. 5. Bedrock. The unweathered rock beneath the soil profile, which gradually breaks down to form new soil. Soil as a habitat. Soil is not just a medium for plants, it is a vibrant ecosystem in its own right, home to billions of organisms in a single handful. These organisms include 1. Microorganisms. Bacteria and fungi dominate the soil microbiome, breaking down organic matter and recycling nutrients. Certain bacteria, such as nitrogen-fixing species, convert atmospheric nitrogen into forms usable by plants. 2. Invertebrates. Earthworms, ants, and other invertebrates aerate the soil, improve its structure, and decompose organic material. Termites in tropical soils contribute to the breakdown of tough plant materials. 3. Plant roots. Roots anchor plants in the soil, absorb water and nutrients, and interact with symbiotic fungi called mycorrhizae, which enhance nutrient uptake. Functions of soil in terrestrial ecosystems. Soil is the foundation of terrestrial ecosystems because it supports a range of essential functions that sustain life. 1. Plant growth. Soil provides the nutrients, water, and physical support that plants need to grow. In turn, plants anchor the soil, prevent erosion, and contribute organic matter. 2. Nutrient cycling. Soil is a critical reservoir for nutrients, cycling elements like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Decomposers break down organic matter, releasing nutrients that plants absorb through their roots. 3. Water regulation. Soil acts as a sponge, capturing rainwater and releasing it slowly to plants and groundwater. This role is particularly important in mitigating floods and maintaining freshwater supplies. 4. Climate regulation. Soils store vast amounts of carbon in organic matter, playing a key role in mitigating climate change. Healthy soils sequester carbon, while degraded soils release it into the atmosphere as CO2. 5. Habitat for biodiversity. Soil ecosystems support countless species, many of which are integral to larger food webs and ecosystem processes. Soil and human activity. Humans rely on soil for agriculture, forestry, and construction, making it one of our most important natural resources. However, human activities often degrade soil, with far-reaching consequences. 1. Agriculture and soil degradation. Intensive farming practices, such as monocropping and excessive tilling, deplete nutrients and erode topsoil. Sustainable practices like crop rotation and organic farming can help restore soil health. 2. Deforestation. Removing vegetation exposes soil to wind and water erosion, reducing fertility and altering local ecosystems. 3. Urbanization. Paving over soil disrupts its natural functions, reducing water infiltration and increasing runoff. Green spaces in cities can mitigate these effects by preserving soil ecosystems. 4. Pollution. Industrial activities and excessive use of chemical fertilizers contaminate soils, harming microorganisms and reducing fertility. Threats to soil and the need for conservation. Soil is a finite resource that forms slowly over time but can be lost rapidly through erosion, degradation, and misuse. Current threats include 1. Erosion. Wind and water remove exposed soil, particularly in regions with deforestation or poor agricultural practices. The loss of topsoil reduces fertility and contributes to desertification. 2. Soil compaction. Heavy machinery and overgrazing compress soil, reducing its ability to retain water and support plant roots. 3. Climate change. Rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns affect soil moisture and microbial activity, altering nutrient cycling. 4. Overuse of fertilizers. Excessive use of synthetic fertilizers can lead to nutrient imbalances and pollution of waterways. The health of terrestrial ecosystems depends on the health of their soils. By understanding soil's role as a foundation for life, we can appreciate its critical importance and work toward preserving this vital resource for future generations. Chapter 3. Water in Terrestrial Ecosystems. Water is the lifeblood of terrestrial ecosystems, flowing through every facet of life on land. From the mightiest rivers carving through canyons to the microscopic droplets sustaining soil microbes, water connects all organisms in a delicate balance. It influences climate, shapes landscapes, and regulates the growth and survival of plants and animals. In terrestrial ecosystems, water is not only a physical necessity but also a driver of ecological processes and a mediator of relationships between organisms and their environment. Understanding the role of water in terrestrial ecosystems reveals its critical importance to biodiversity, energy flow, and ecosystem stability. It is a resource that sustains life, cycles through systems, and responds dynamically to natural and human influences. The role of water in ecosystems. Water is essential to terrestrial ecosystems for several key reasons. 1. Support for life. All living organisms require water for cellular functions, including photosynthesis, respiration, and nutrient transport. Without water, life ceases to exist. Plants use water to produce energy through photosynthesis, while animals rely on it for hydration and metabolic processes. 2. Habitat creation. Water bodies such as rivers, lakes, and wetlands provide critical habitats for countless species, from amphibians and insects to mammals and birds. Temporary water sources, like seasonal pools, support unique ecosystems adapted to periodic drying. 3. Climate regulation. Water helps moderate temperatures within ecosystems by absorbing and releasing heat. This stabilizes microclimates and supports diverse species. Forests, for instance, rely on water to maintain humidity and temperature, creating ideal conditions for flora and fauna. 4. Nutrient transport. Water carries dissolved nutrients through soils and into plant roots, supporting growth and ecosystem productivity. It also transports nutrients and sediment through rivers, enriching floodplains and deltas. The water cycle. A dynamic process. Water in terrestrial ecosystems is part of a larger, continuous movement known as the hydrological cycle. This cycle connects ecosystems to the atmosphere, oceans, and groundwater, ensuring that water is constantly renewed and redistributed. 1. Evaporation. Water from lakes, rivers, and soil evaporates into the atmosphere due to solar energy. Transpiration, the release of water vapor by plants, contributes significantly to this process. 2. Condensation and precipitation. As water vapor rises, it cools and condenses into clouds. Precipitation in the form of rain, snow, or sleet delivers water back to terrestrial ecosystems. 3. Infiltration and runoff. Water that reaches the ground either infiltrates into the soil, replenishing groundwater reserves, or flows as surface runoff into streams and rivers. 4. Storage and redistribution. Water is stored in various reservoirs, including glaciers, aquifers, and wetlands. It is gradually released, sustaining ecosystems during dry periods. This cyclical movement ensures that terrestrial ecosystems receive a steady supply of water, even in regions with fluctuating precipitation patterns. Water availability in terrestrial ecosystems. The availability of water in terrestrial ecosystems varies widely depending on factors such as geography, climate, and soil type. This variability shapes the diversity and structure of ecosystems across the globe. 1. Wetlands and rainforests. These ecosystems are water-rich, with high precipitation and abundant surface water. They support diverse species, from amphibians to aquatic plants. Example: the Amazon rainforest relies on heavy rainfall and transpiration to maintain its lush biodiversity. 2. Grasslands. Grasslands receive moderate rainfall, sufficient for grasses but often limiting tree growth. These ecosystems are home to grazing herbivores and drought-tolerant plants. Example: the Great Plains in North America rely on seasonal rains for productivity. 3. Deserts. Deserts are defined by water scarcity, receiving less than 10 inches of precipitation annually. Life here has evolved extraordinary adaptations to conserve and use water efficiently. Example: cacti store water in their tissues, while desert animals like kangaroo rats obtain moisture from their food. 4. Tundra. In tundra ecosystems, water is often locked in ice and permafrost, limiting its availability. Melting snow during short summer supports seasonal plant growth. Example: Arctic tundras rely on brief thaws for the survival of mosses, lichens, and migratory animals. Water and plant life. Water is a cornerstone of terrestrial ecosystems primarily because it sustains plant life, the base of the food web. Plants depend on water for photosynthesis. Water is a key ingredient in producing glucose, the energy source for plants and, indirectly, for herbivores and carnivores. Nutrient uptake. Water dissolves nutrients in soil, allowing them to be absorbed by roots. Turgor pressure. Water maintains cell rigidity, enabling plants to stand upright and capture sunlight effectively. Plants, in turn, influence water availability in ecosystems. 1. Transpiration. Plants release water vapor into the atmosphere, contributing to local humidity and precipitation patterns. 2. Water retention. Forests and grasslands help retain water in soil, reducing erosion and improving groundwater recharge. Water and animal life. Animals depend on water for hydration, thermoregulation, and metabolic processes. Their survival often hinges on access to reliable water sources. Aquatic habitats. Amphibians like frogs and salamanders require water for reproduction and respiration. Migratory patterns. Many animals, such as elephants and wildebeest, migrate to follow seasonal water sources. Adaptations to scarcity. Desert animals have evolved remarkable mechanisms to conserve water, such as producing concentrated urine or relying on moisture-rich diets. Threats to water in terrestrial ecosystems. Despite its abundance on Earth, freshwater is a limited resource, and human activities increasingly threaten its availability and quality in terrestrial ecosystems. 1. Pollution. Industrial runoff, agricultural chemicals, and urban waste contaminate water sources, harming plants and animals. Example: fertilizer runoff causes algal blooms, which deplete oxygen in water bodies and harm aquatic ecosystems. 2. Overextraction. Excessive groundwater pumping for agriculture and urban use depletes aquifers, reducing water availability for ecosystems. Example: overuse of the Ogallala aquifer threatens the Great Plains' productivity. 3. Climate change. Rising temperatures disrupt precipitation patterns, leading to droughts in some regions and floods in others. Melting glaciers and shrinking snowpacks reduce freshwater supplies. Example: Himalayan glaciers, which feed rivers in Asia, are retreating, jeopardizing water for billions. 4. Deforestation. Removing forests reduces transpiration and alters local rainfall patterns, leading to drier conditions. Example: deforestation in the Amazon affects its ability to generate rainfall, threatening its ecosystem. Water is the essence of life, shaping terrestrial ecosystems and supporting the organisms within them. Its dynamic presence connects soil, plants, and animals in an endless cycle, making it an invaluable resource that underpins the health and productivity of life on land. Chapter 4. Plant Life and Adaptations. Across the terrestrial world, plants dominate ecosystems, from towering trees in rainforests to hardy mosses clinging to rocky tundra. Their ability to thrive in diverse environments is a testament to their incredible adaptability. Plants are not merely passive inhabitants of ecosystems, they are the backbone, providing energy, oxygen, and structure to the world's terrestrial landscapes. Through millions of years of evolution, plants have developed a stunning array of adaptations that allow them to survive and thrive in conditions ranging from arid deserts to nutrient-poor soils. Understanding plant life and their adaptations offers insight into the resilience and ingenuity of nature. Each plant is a complex system finely tuned to its environment, constantly interacting with soil, water, sunlight, and other organisms. The role of plants in ecosystems. Plants are foundational to terrestrial ecosystems, performing essential roles that sustain life on Earth. 1. Producers in food webs. Plants are primary producers, capturing solar energy through photosynthesis and converting it into chemical energy stored in sugars. This energy forms the base of the food web, supporting herbivores and, indirectly, predators. 2. Oxygen production. During photosynthesis, plants release oxygen, maintaining atmospheric balance and enabling aerobic life to thrive. 3. Soil stabilization and formation. Plant roots anchor soil, reducing erosion, while decaying plant material enriches the soil with organic matter. 4. Water cycle regulation. Plants transpire water vapor into the atmosphere, influencing local and global precipitation patterns. 5. Habitat and shelter. Plants provide food, shelter, and breeding grounds for countless species, from insects to mammals. Adaptations of plants. Plants have evolved diverse adaptations to cope with environmental challenges. These adaptations are shaped by factors such as water availability, temperature extremes, soil conditions, and interactions with other organisms. 1. Adaptations to water availability. Water is a crucial resource for plants, and their adaptations often reflect strategies to manage water use. A. Xerophytes. Adapted to dry environments. Found in deserts and arid regions, these plants are adapted to conserve water. Examples: cacti, agaves, and succulents. Adaptations: fig, waxy cuticles to reduce water loss. Small or absent leaves to minimize transpiration. Deep or widespread roots to access water. Water storage tissues in stems and leaves. B. Hydrophytes. Adapted to wet environments. Found in swamps, marshes, and other waterlogged areas, these plants thrive in saturated conditions. Examples: water lilies, cattails, and mangroves. Adaptations: air spaces in tissues, parenchyma, to facilitate oxygen transport. Floating leaves with stomata on the upper surface for gas exchange. Specialized roots, such as pneumatophores, to access oxygen. C. Mesophytes. Adapted to moderate conditions. Found in environments with balanced water availability, these plants lack extreme adaptations but efficiently manage water use. Examples: oak trees, grasses, and shrubs. 2. Adaptations to temperature extremes. Temperature can limit plant survival and growth, particularly in environments with extreme heat or cold. A. Heat adaptations. Plants in hot environments, such as deserts, often have adaptations to reflect heat and reduce water loss. Example: desert shrubs with silva, reflective leaves to reduce heat absorption. B. Cold adaptations. In tundra and alpine regions, plants have adaptations to withstand freezing temperatures and short growing seasons. Example: Arctic moss and cushion plants. Adaptations: low, compact growth forms to reduce exposure to cold winds. Antifreeze-like compounds in cells to prevent ice formation. Rapid growth and reproduction during brief summers. 3. Adaptations to nutrient availability. Soil fertility varies widely, and plants have evolved strategies to thrive in nutrient-poor or toxic soils. A. Carnivorous plants. Found in nutrient-poor soils, such as bogs, these plants supplement their diet by capturing and digesting insects. Examples: Venus flytrap, pitcher plants, and sundews. B. Nitrogen-fixing plants. These plants, often in symbiosis with bacteria, enrich nitrogen-poor soils by converting atmospheric nitrogen into usable forms. Examples: legumes like peas, beans, and clover. C. Tolerant plants. Some plants survive in saline or acidic soils by developing specialized mechanisms. Example: salt-tolerant halophytes like mangroves and glassworts. 4. Adaptations to interactions with other organisms. Plants interact with herbivores, pollinators, and pathogens, driving the evolution of adaptations to enhance survival and reproduction. A. Defense mechanisms. Physical defenses. Thorns, spines, and tough leaves deter herbivores. Example: roses and cacti. Chemical defenses. Toxins and bitter compounds discourage consumption. Example: milkweed produces toxic latex to protect against insects. B. Pollination strategies. Plants rely on various pollinators and have evolved structures and traits to attract them. Examples: bright flowers and nectar reward bees, butterflies, and birds. Night-blooming flowers attract nocturnal pollinators like moths. C. Seed dispersal adaptations. Plants ensure their seeds reach suitable locations by utilizing wind, water, or animals. Examples: lightweight seeds of dandelions carried by wind. Fruits like berries eaten by animals, with seeds dispersed through droppings. Examples of specialized plant adaptations. Mangroves. Found in coastal ecosystems, mangroves tolerate salty water and stabilize shorelines with their extensive root systems. Epiphytes. These air plants grow on other plants, often in rainforests, without parasitizing them. They capture water and nutrients from the air and rain. Example: orchids and bromeliads. Grasses. Adapted to grazing and fire, grasses in savannas and prairies regrow quickly from their base, allowing them to thrive despite disturbances. Plant life and its adaptations illustrate the resilience and ingenuity of nature. By responding to environmental challenges and opportunities, plants have diversified into an astonishing array of forms, each uniquely equipped to survive in specific ecosystems. From deserts to rainforests, their adaptations ensure not only their own survival but also the health and stability of the terrestrial ecosystems they anchor. Chapter 5: Animal Life and Adaptations. Animals bring life to terrestrial ecosystems, filling the skies, forests, plains, and deserts with movement and sound. From the quiet stealth of a predator stalking its prey to the industrious buzz of pollinators moving from flower to flower, animals play essential roles in maintaining the balance of ecosystems. Their diversity is immense, with adaptations that allow them to thrive in environments ranging from the icy tundra to arid deserts and tropical rainforests. Adaptations are key to the survival of animals, enabling them to cope with challenges such as finding food, avoiding predators, and enduring extreme climates. These traits, shaped by millions of years of evolution, demonstrate the resilience and ingenuity of life on Earth. The role of animals in ecosystems. Animals interact with their environment and other species in ways that profoundly shape terrestrial ecosystems. They contribute to energy flow, nutrient cycling, and ecological stability through a variety of roles. Consumers in food webs. Animals occupy multiple trophic levels, from herbivores feeding on plants to apex predators at the top of the food chain. Example: grasshoppers, primary consumers, feed on plants, while hawks, secondary or tertiary consumers, prey on smaller animals. Pollinators and seed dispersers. Many animals help plants reproduce by pollinating flowers or spreading seeds. Example: bees pollinate crops and wild plants, while elephants disperse seeds by consuming and excreting fruit. Decomposers and scavengers. Animals like vultures, beetles, and fungi feeding invertebrates break down dead organisms, recycling nutrients back into the soil. Ecosystem engineers. Certain species modify their habitats in ways that benefit other organisms. Example: beavers build dams, creating wetlands that support diverse plant and animal life. Adaptations in animal life. Animals exhibit a wide range of adaptations that enable them to survive in different environments. These adaptations are often categorized as structural, behavioral, or physiological. 1. Adaptations to habitat. Different habitats present unique challenges, and animals have evolved to exploit their environments effectively. A. Desert adaptations. Deserts are characterized by extreme heat, scarce water, and limited food. Animals here have adaptations to conserve water and endure high temperatures. Example: fennec foxes have large ears to dissipate heat and thick fur on their feet to protect against hot sand. Adaptations. Nocturnal behavior to avoid daytime heat. Water-efficient metabolisms, like those of kangaroo rats, which extract moisture from seeds. Light-colored fur to reflect sunlight. B. Forest adaptations. Forests provide abundant resources but also dense competition and predators. Animals here often rely on camouflage, agility, or arboreal lifestyles. Example: chameleons use color change for camouflage and communication. Adaptations: prehensile tails for climbing, e.g., monkeys. Sharp claws and keen senses for hunting or foraging. See Arctic and tundra adaptations. These cold regions require animals to withstand freezing temperatures and limited vegetation. Example: polar bears have thick fur and a layer of fat for insulation. Adaptations: seasonal fur changes, like those of Arctic foxes, for camouflage. Compact body shapes to retain heat. Hibernation to conserve energy during winter. D. Grassland adaptations. Grasslands feature open spaces and seasonal rainfall, favoring animals with speed and endurance. Example: antelope have long legs for running and large herds for protection against predators. Adaptations: grazing teeth for processing tough grasses. Migration to follow water and food sources. 2. Adaptations for feeding. Finding and consuming food is a universal challenge, leading to specialized feeding adaptations. A. Herbivores. Herbivores have adaptations for digesting tough plant material, often relying on symbiotic gut bacteria. Example: giraffes have long necks to reach leaves high in trees. Adaptations: flat teeth for grinding. Multi-chambered stomachs, like those in cows, for breaking down cellulose. B. Carnivores. Predators are equipped with adaptations to hunt and consume other animals. Example: lions have sharp claws and strong jaws for capturing and killing prey. Adaptations: forward-facing eyes for depth perception. Stealth and speed for hunting. C. Omnivores. Omnivores can consume a variety of foods, giving them flexibility in diverse environments. Example: bears eat berries, fish, and small mammals. Adaptations: versatile teeth for tearing and grinding. Opportunistic behavior to exploit available resources. 3. Adaptations for survival. Surviving predation, harsh climates, and other threats has driven animals to develop remarkable defenses and strategies. A. Camouflage and mimicry. Many animals blend into their surroundings to avoid predators or ambush prey. Example: stick insects resemble twigs, while some butterflies mimic toxic species to deter predators. B. Physical defenses. Structural features like armor, spines, or shells protect animals from harm. Example: armadillos have bony plates that shield them from predators. C. Behavioral adaptations. Animals often rely on specific behaviors to improve survival chances. Example: prairie dogs use alarm calls to warn their colony of approaching danger. Adaptations: flocking or herding for safety in numbers. Burrowing to escape predators or extreme weather. 4. Adaptations to reproduction. Ensuring the survival of offspring is a critical part of an animal's life cycle. Reproductive adaptations help maximize success in passing on genes. A. Parental care. Some species invest heavily in protecting and raising their young. Example: wolves live in packs that cooperate to raise pups. B. Reproductive strategies. Animals use a variety of strategies to ensure reproductive success. R. Selection. Producing many offspring with little care, like frogs. K. Selection. Producing fewer offspring but providing significant care, like elephants. C. Aiding displays. Many species attract mates through elaborate behaviors or physical traits. Example: peacocks display colorful plumage to attract females. Examples of adaptation in action. 1. Sloths in rainforests. Slow movements and algae-covered fur help sloths blend with tree canopies, avoiding predators. 2. Kangaroos in grasslands. Kangaroos conserve energy by hopping, an efficient mode of travel in open spaces. 3. Penguins in polar regions. Penguins huddle together for warmth and rely on streamlined bodies for efficient swimming. Animal adaptations highlight the resourcefulness of life in overcoming environmental challenges. Through unique traits and behaviors, animals not only survive but thrive in diverse and often extreme conditions. These adaptations, whether for feeding, reproduction, or survival, underscore their vital roles in maintaining the balance and dynamism of terrestrial ecosystems. Chapter 6. Competition and Cooperation. In every corner of a terrestrial ecosystem, organisms are engaged in a dynamic interplay of competition and cooperation. Whether it's trees competing for sunlight in a dense forest or ants cooperating to construct intricate colonies, these interactions shape the structure and function of ecosystems. Competition drives adaptation and innovation, while cooperation fosters resilience and mutual survival. Together, these forces define the balance of life. Understanding the dual roles of competition and cooperation reveals how species survive, thrive, and coexist within ecosystems. These interactions are the building blocks of biodiversity and the forces that maintain ecological stability. Competition in ecosystems. Competition occurs when organisms vie for the same limited resources, such as food, water, space, or mates. It can happen between individuals of the same species, intraspecific competition, or between different species, interspecific competition. Competition is a powerful driver of natural selection, influencing the evolution of traits and behaviors that improve survival. 1. Intraspecific competition. Intraspecific competition occurs among individuals of the same species, often over resources like territory or mates. Examples in nature. In a grassland, multiple antelope may compete for access to limited water during the dry season. Male elk battle for dominance during mating season, with the strongest gaining access to females. Impact. Promotes the development of traits like strength, speed, or intelligence. Can regulate population size, as only the fittest individuals reproduce or secure resources. 2. Interspecific competition. Interspecific competition occurs when two or more species compete for the same resources. This type of competition can influence the diversity and composition of ecosystems. Examples in nature. In forests, trees compete for sunlight, with taller species often overshadowing smaller ones. In wetlands, water birds like herons and egrets may compete for the same fish species. Impact. Can lead to competitive exclusion, where one species outcompetes and displaces another. Drives niche differentiation, where species adapt to exploit different resources to reduce competition. Example. Warblers in a forest occupy different parts of the same tree to avoid direct competition. Cooperation in ecosystems. While competition is a central force in nature, cooperation is equally important. Organisms often work together, forming partnerships that benefit all parties involved. This mutualistic behavior enhances survival, productivity, and ecosystem resilience. 1. Mutualism. A win-win relationship. Mutualism is a form of cooperation where both species benefit. These relationships often form the backbone of ecosystem function. Examples in nature. Bees and flowering plants. Bees gather nectar and pollen for food, while plants are pollinated, enabling reproduction. Mycorrhizal fungi and plants. Fungi extend the reach of plant roots, helping them absorb nutrients, while the fungi receive sugars from the plant. Clownfish and anemones. Clownfish gain protection from predators by living among the anemone's stinging tentacles, while the anemone benefits from nutrients in the fish's waste. Impact. Mutualism strengthens ecosystem stability by promoting interdependence among species. Often leads to coevolution, where species develop traits that enhance their partnerships. 2. Commensalism. Benefiting without harm. Commensalism is a relationship where one organism benefits, and the other is neither helped nor harmed. Examples in nature. Birds nesting in trees. The birds gain shelter without affecting the tree. Epiphytic plants, like orchids, growing on larger trees. The orchids gain access to sunlight, while the tree remains unaffected. Impact. Increases biodiversity by allowing species to exploit resources without direct competition or harm. 3. Altruism. Helping at a cost. In some cases, organisms exhibit behaviors that appear selfless, where individuals sacrifice for the benefit of others. While true altruism is rare, it is often seen in social animals and kin groups. Examples in nature. Worker bees in a hive. They forego reproduction to care for the queen and her offspring, ensuring the survival of the colony. Prairie dogs giving alarm calls. They risk exposing themselves to predators to warn the group of danger. Impact. Enhances survival of the group or genetic lineage. Encourages the development of social structures in species like wolves, elephants, and primates. The balance between competition and cooperation. Ecosystems are not purely competitive or cooperative. Instead, they rely on a balance of both forces to maintain stability and biodiversity. 1. Competition drives adaptation. Competition pushes organisms to evolve new strategies for survival. Whether it's sharper teeth, faster reflexes, or more efficient foraging techniques, competition fosters innovation and ecological diversity. Example. The long necks of giraffes evolved to access food sources in the canopy that other herbivores couldn't reach. 2. Cooperation builds resilience. Cooperation allows ecosystems to withstand disturbances, as interdependent species support each other. Mutualism, for instance, ensures that key processes like pollination and nutrient cycling continue even during environmental stress. Example. Coral reefs, where coral and algae cooperate to build diverse and productive ecosystems. 3. A dynamic interplay. Competition and cooperation are not always distinct, they often overlap in complex ways. For instance, species that compete in one context may cooperate in another. Example. In savannas, zebras and wildebeests compete for grass, but their combined grazing patterns reduce predator risk for both species. Examples of competition and cooperation in action. 1. The Serengeti. Competition. Lions and hyenas compete for prey, shaping hunting strategies and population dynamics. Cooperation. Oxpecker birds feed on parasites from giraffes and buffalo, benefiting both species. 2. Rainforests. Competition. Vines and trees compete for sunlight, leading to adaptations like rapid growth or spreading canopies. Cooperation. Leafcutter ants and fungi work together, with ants cultivating fungi as a food source. 3. Deserts. Competition. Limited water resources force species like rodents and reptiles to adapt strategies for efficient water use. Cooperation. Cacti and birds form mutualistic relationships, with birds spreading cactus seeds while benefiting from the fruit. Competition and cooperation are the twin forces that drive the dynamics of terrestrial ecosystems. While competition sharpens survival instincts and fosters diversity, cooperation binds species together, creating resilience and stability. Together, they weave the intricate web of interactions that sustain life on Earth. Chapter 7. Succession and Ecosystem Development. Nature is constantly in motion, and terrestrial ecosystems are no exception. Even the most stable landscapes have evolved through a process known as ecological succession, where ecosystems change and develop over time. Succession is a natural sequence of events through which barren or disturbed landscapes transform into thriving ecosystems, rich in biodiversity and complexity. This process, often slow and subtle, shapes the dynamic nature of life on Earth. Succession and ecosystem development highlight the resilience and adaptability of nature. Through this lens, we see ecosystems as living systems, capable of recovery, renewal, and evolution. What is ecological succession? Ecological succession is the gradual process by which ecosystems change and develop over time. It involves shifts in species composition, vegetation, and ecological processes as an area moves toward a more stable and mature state. Succession can be classified into two primary types. 1. Primary succession occurs in areas where no soil or life previously existed, such as volcanic lava fields or regions left bare by retreating glaciers. The process begins with the establishment of pioneer species that create conditions for other organisms to thrive. 2. Secondary succession takes place in areas where ecosystems have been disturbed but soil remains, such as after a wildfire, hurricane, or agricultural abandonment. Recovery is often faster than in primary succession due to the presence of existing soil and seeds. Stages of succession. Succession unfolds in predictable stages, each marked by distinct ecological changes. These stages may vary in duration, depending on factors like climate, soil fertility, and the type of disturbance. 1. Pioneer stage. The first stage of succession involves hardy pioneer species, such as lichens, mosses, and certain grasses. These organisms are adapted to harsh conditions and help initiate soil formation by breaking down rocks and accumulating organic matter. Example: in a lava field, lichens and mosses are often the first to colonize, forming a thin layer of soil. 2. Intermediate stage. As soil depth and fertility increase, more plant species begin to establish, including grasses, shrubs, and small trees. This stage supports greater biodiversity, including insects, birds, and small mammals. Example: after an abandoned field lies fallow, grasses and fast-growing shrubs like goldenrod and sumac may dominate the landscape. 3. Climax stage. The final stage of succession, the climax stage, represents a stable and mature ecosystem, such as a dense forest or prairie. Species diversity and ecological processes reach equilibrium, with long-lived plants and animals becoming dominant. Example: a mature temperate forest with oaks, maples, and diverse understory plants. The role of disturbance in succession. Disturbances are a natural part of ecosystem dynamics and play a crucial role in initiating or resetting succession. These events can be natural or human-induced. 1. Natural disturbances. Wildfires, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, and floods can disrupt ecosystems, creating opportunities for succession. Example: wildfires in grasslands or forests clear away dead vegetation, allowing new growth to thrive. 2. Human-induced disturbances. Deforestation, agriculture, and urbanization often alter ecosystems, leading to secondary succession once the area is abandoned or restored. Example: abandoned farmland in the eastern United States often transitions to forest through secondary succession. Disturbances are not inherently negative. They can enhance biodiversity by creating a mosaic of habitats at different successional stages. Factors influencing succession. Several factors shape the pace and trajectory of succession, influencing how ecosystems develop over time. 1. Climate. Temperature, precipitation, and sunlight determine which species can thrive during different stages of succession. Example: In arid regions, succession may culminate in desert scrub rather than a dense forest. 2. Soil quality. The fertility, structure, and moisture content of soil influence plant colonization and growth. Example: poor, sandy soils may slow succession, favoring drought-tolerant species. 3. Seed dispersal. The arrival of new plant species depends on seed dispersal mechanisms, such as wind, water, or animals. Example: birds may carry seeds from nearby forests to a cleared area, accelerating forest regeneration. 4. Competition and facilitation. Early species may either compete with or facilitate the establishment of later species. Example: pioneer plants often improve soil fertility, making it easier for shrubs and trees to establish. Succession and biodiversity. Succession plays a key role in maintaining and enhancing biodiversity. As ecosystems develop, they often support a wider variety of species. 1. Increased niches. Succession creates new habitats and niches, supporting organisms at different trophic levels. Example: a young forest provides open ground for grasses, while a mature forest offers canopy niches for birds. 2. Ecosystem stability. Mature ecosystems are more stable and resilient to disturbances due to their biodiversity and interconnected processes. 3. Keystone species. Certain species, like beavers or large predators, influence successional trajectories by altering habitats or regulating populations. Examples of succession in terrestrial ecosystems. 1. Forest succession in temperate regions. After farmland is abandoned, grasses and shrubs take hold, followed by fast-growing trees like pines. Over decades, hardwood species such as oaks and maples dominate. 2. Volcanic succession. In regions like Hawaii, volcanic eruptions leave behind barren landscapes. Pioneer species like lichens and ferns pave the way for forests of ohia and koa trees. 3. Wetland succession. In flooded areas, succession may begin with algae and emergent plants, transitioning to marshes or bogs over time as sediment accumulates. Succession and ecosystem development reveal the dynamic nature of terrestrial ecosystems. Through this ongoing process, life reclaims barren landscapes, adapts to change, and builds intricate, interconnected communities. These transformations underscore the resilience of ecosystems and their ability to recover, evolve, and sustain the diversity of life on Earth. Chapter 8. The role of fire. Fire, a force of nature both feared and revered, is a powerful agent of change in terrestrial ecosystems. While it is often associated with destruction, fire also plays a critical role in shaping landscapes, maintaining ecological balance, and fostering biodiversity. From the towering forests of the Pacific Northwest to the grasslands of the African savanna, fire has long been a natural and essential process that influences the dynamics of life on Earth. Understanding fire's role in ecosystems requires a nuanced perspective. Far from being a purely destructive force, fire is a tool of renewal, driving cycles of growth, adaptation, and evolution. Its impact depends on factors like intensity, frequency, and the resilience of the ecosystems it touches. What is fire ecology? Fire ecology examines the relationship between fire and ecosystems, focusing on how fire affects landscapes, species, and ecological processes. It recognizes fire as both a natural disturbance and a necessary component of many ecosystems. Key concepts in fire ecology include: 1. Fire regime. The patterns of fire occurrence, intensity, frequency, and seasonality in a given area. Example: grasslands experience frequent, low-intensity fires, while some forests may go decades between high-intensity fires. 2. Adaptation to fire. Many plant and animal species have evolved traits that allow them to survive, thrive, or even depend on fire. 3. Fire as a disturbance. Like floods or storms, fire resets ecosystems, creating opportunities for new growth and maintaining ecological balance. The positive impacts of fire. Although fire is often viewed through the lens of destruction, it plays a vital role in many ecosystems, supporting renewal and resilience. 1. Promoting plant regeneration. Fire clears dead vegetation, making room for new growth. Many plant species are adapted to, or even reliant on, fire for reproduction and survival. Seed germination. Some plants, like lodgepole pines and certain eucalyptus species, have seeds encased in cones or pods that only open under intense heat. Fire triggers their release, enabling regeneration. Example: in chaparral ecosystems, heat from fire activates dormant seeds in the soil. Nutrient recycling. Fire breaks down organic matter, releasing nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus into the soil. This enriches the soil and supports new plant growth. Example: grasslands rejuvenate quickly after low-intensity fires due to nutrient-rich ash. 2. Controlling competition. Fire prevents the dominance of certain species, maintaining a balance that supports biodiversity. Grasslands and savannas. Without fire, woody shrubs and trees would encroach on these open ecosystems, reducing habitat for grazing animals. Example: in African savannas, periodic fires prevent the spread of thorny acacia trees, keeping the landscape open for large herbivores like zebras and elephants. Forest understory management. Fires clear dense undergrowth, allowing sunlight to reach the forest floor and fostering the growth of diverse plants. Example: controlled burns in pine forests reduce shade-tolerant shrubs, encouraging the growth of sun-loving wildflowers and grasses. 3. Enhancing wildlife habitats. Fire creates a mosaic of habitats at different successional stages, supporting a variety of species. Edge habitats. Burned areas adjacent to unburned forests create edges where wildlife thrives. These zones offer abundant food, shelter, and nesting sites. Example: deer and elk forage in newly burned grasslands, while birds of prey hunt in open spaces. Food availability. Fire stimulates the growth of nutrient-rich vegetation, benefiting herbivores and the predators that depend on them. Example: after a fire, fresh grasses and shoots attract grazers, creating a surge in food availability. Adaptations to fire. Over millennia, many species have evolved adaptations to survive and even benefit from fire. These traits reflect the importance of fire as a natural part of the ecosystem. 1. Plant adaptations. Thick bark. Protects tree trunks from heat damage. Example: longleaf pines in the southeastern United States have fire-resistant bark. Fire-dependent seeds. Some plants require fire to release seeds or stimulate germination. Example: Banksia plants in Australia produce seeds that germinate only after exposure to fire. Rapid resprouting. Many plants regrow quickly after a fire, taking advantage of reduced competition and enriched soil. Example: grasses in prairie ecosystems regrow from roots or underground stems. 2. Animal adaptations. Mobility. Many animals escape fire by fleeing to unburned areas or burrowing underground. Example: rodents and reptiles take refuge in burrows during fires. Fire-triggered behavior. Some species take advantage of fires for hunting or foraging. Example: certain bird species, like the black kite in Australia, are known to spread fire by carrying burning sticks to flush out prey. The negative impacts of fire. While fire has many ecological benefits, it can also cause harm, especially when it occurs at unnatural frequencies or intensities. 1. Habitat destruction. High-intensity fires can destroy habitats, especially if species are not adapted to frequent burning. Invasive species can exacerbate this problem by altering fire regimes. Example: invasive grasses like cheatgrass in North America increase fire frequency, threatening native plants and animals. 2. Soil erosion and water quality. Fires that burn too hot can damage soil structure, making it prone to erosion. Ash and sediment from burned areas may wash into rivers, affecting water quality. Example: in mountainous areas, post-fire erosion can lead to landslides, further altering the landscape. 3. Threats to human communities. Wildfires that spread into populated areas cause devastating losses to property, infrastructure, and lives. These fires are often exacerbated by human activities, such as land development and fire suppression. Example: the California wildfires in recent years highlight the growing risk of wildfires in areas where urban development meets wildlands. The role of controlled burns. Controlled, or prescribed, burns are a tool used by ecologists and land managers to harness the benefits of fire while minimizing its risks. Fuel reduction. Removes excess vegetation that could fuel larger, more destructive fires. Habitat management. Creates diverse habitats and promotes species adapted to fire-prone ecosystems. Restoration. Restores natural fire regimes in areas where fire suppression has altered ecosystems. Example: indigenous peoples in North America historically used controlled burns to manage forests and grasslands, promoting biodiversity and reducing fire risk. Fire is a complex and transformative force in terrestrial ecosystems. Whether as a natural phenomenon or a tool of management, it shapes landscapes, supports biodiversity, and drives ecological renewal. Its role in ecosystems underscores the intricate balance of destruction and creation that defines the natural world. Chapter 9. Seasonality and Cycles. Seasonality is one of the most defining features of terrestrial ecosystems. From the vibrant blooms of spring to the stillness of winter, the cycles of the seasons influence nearly every aspect of life on land. These regular changes in temperature, light, and precipitation create rhythms that organisms have adapted to over millennia. Seasonality governs migration, reproduction, growth, and survival, linking the lives of plants, animals, and entire ecosystems to the planet's celestial mechanics. Understanding the role of seasonality in terrestrial ecosystems provides insight into how life is synchronized with the Earth's cycles. It also highlights the delicate balance that species maintain to thrive in ever-changing conditions. What is seasonality? Seasonality refers to the predictable changes in environmental conditions that occur over the course of a year due to the Earth's tilt and orbit around the Sun. These changes vary across regions and are driven by 1. Day length, photoperiod. The amount of sunlight a region receives changes with the seasons, influencing photosynthesis, migration, and reproduction. 2. Temperature. Seasonal shifts in temperature dictate growing seasons and the behavior of organisms. 3. Precipitation. Many ecosystems experience wet and dry seasons, shaping their cycles of productivity and dormancy. Seasonality across biomes. The effects of seasonality differ depending on latitude, altitude, and the characteristics of a biome. 1. Tropical ecosystems, rain and dry seasons. In tropical regions near the equator, temperatures remain relatively constant year-round, but precipitation varies significantly between wet and dry seasons. Rainforests. The wet season brings abundant rainfall, fueling rapid plant growth and high productivity. Animals time reproduction to coincide with food availability during this period. Example: Many tropical birds and insects reproduce during the rainy season when flowers and fruits are abundant. Savannas. The alternation of wet and dry seasons drives dramatic changes in vegetation. Grasses flourish during rains, while drought-tolerant trees dominate during the dry season. Example: herbivores like wildebeests migrate in response to seasonal rainfall, following the growth of fresh grasses. 2. Temperate ecosystems, 4 distinct seasons. In temperate regions, ecosystems experience spring, summer, fall, and winter, each with unique impacts on flora and fauna. Forests. Spring and summer bring warmer temperatures and longer days, triggering plant growth and animal activity. In fall, trees shed leaves to conserve energy, while winter is a period of dormancy. Example: bears in temperate forests hibernate during winter, surviving on fat reserves built up during the warmer months. Grasslands. Seasonal precipitation and temperature changes regulate the growth of grasses and the movements of grazing animals. Example: prairie grasses go dormant in winter but regrow rapidly in spring, sustaining herbivores like bison. 3. Polar ecosystems, extreme seasonality. In polar regions, extreme seasonality with long, harsh winters and short, productive summers shapes life. Tundra. Winters are dominated by freezing temperatures, snow, and darkness. Summers bring thawed soil, bursts of plant growth, and the arrival of migratory species. Example: Arctic foxes grow thick white coats in winter for camouflage and warmth, shedding them in summer for a brownish-gray coat. Seasonality and organism behavior. Seasonality affects not just ecosystems but the behavior and life cycles of individual species. 1. Migration. Many animals migrate seasonally to take advantage of resources or escape unfavorable conditions. Bird migration. Birds often travel thousands of miles between breeding and wintering grounds. Example: Arctic terns migrate from the Arctic to the Antarctic, covering the globe to exploit endless summer daylight. Land mammals. Grazers like wildebeests in Africa migrate in herds to follow seasonal rains and fresh grass growth. 2. Hibernation and dormancy. In regions with harsh winters or dry seasons, many organisms enter states of dormancy to conserve energy. Hibernation. Animals like bears and groundhogs reduce metabolic activity during winter to survive on stored energy. Plant dormancy. Deciduous trees drop their leaves in autumn to minimize water loss and conserve energy during winter. 3. Reproduction cycles. Seasonal cues often trigger reproduction, ensuring that offspring are born when conditions are favorable. Timing with food availability. Animals time births to coincide with periods of food abundance, such as spring blooms or rainy seasons. Example: deer typically give birth in spring when vegetation is plentiful for nursing mothers and growing fawns. Photoperiod-driven breeding. Some animals use changing day length as a signal to begin reproductive cycles. Example: birds often start mating when spring's increasing daylight triggers hormonal changes. Seasonality and ecosystem productivity. Seasonal changes in sunlight, temperature, and water availability regulate primary productivity, which influences the entire food web. 1. Spring and summer, peaks of productivity. In most ecosystems, spring and summer are periods of rapid growth and activity. Increased sunlight and warmth drive photosynthesis, leading to abundant vegetation, which supports herbivores and their predators. Breeding, rearing of young, and population expansion. 2. Fall and winter, conservation and rest. During fall and winter, ecosystems conserve energy and resources. Plants slow or halt growth, shedding leaves or entering dormancy. Many animals reduce activity, hibernate, or migrate to avoid harsh conditions. Decomposition slows, delaying nutrient cycling until spring. Cycles beyond seasons. Seasonality is just one type of cycle influencing terrestrial ecosystems. Other ecological cycles operate over longer or shorter timescales, contributing to ecosystem dynamics. Daily cycles. Many organisms follow circadian rhythms, with activities like feeding, pollination, or predator avoidance tied to day-night cycles. Example: nocturnal animals like owls hunt at night, while diurnal species like squirrels are active during the day. Multi-year cycles. Some ecosystems experience cycles spanning several years, such as El Niño events or predator-prey population cycles. Example: lynx and snowshoe hare populations in the boreal forest follow a roughly 10-year boom and bust cycle. Seasonality and ecological cycles are the natural rhythms of life, shaping how ecosystems function and how species survive. These patterns reflect Earth's interconnectedness, where every organism, from the smallest microbe to the largest mammal, adapts to the ebb and flow of nature's cycles. Chapter 10. Predators, Prey, and Population Control. In the wild, every species plays a role in the delicate balance of life, and none are more influential than predators and their prey. The relationship between these two groups drives the dynamics of population control, shaping ecosystems in profound ways. Predators regulate prey populations, preventing overgrazing and maintaining biodiversity. Prey, in turn, influence predator behavior and abundance, creating a feedback loop that sustains ecological balance. Understanding the interplay between predators, prey, and population control offers insight into how ecosystems function, adapt, and respond to change. It reveals the intricate connections that keep ecosystems stable while highlighting the consequences of disrupting these natural relationships. The predator-prey relationship. The relationship between predators and prey is one of nature's most compelling dynamics. Predators hunt and consume prey for energy, while prey species develop strategies to avoid predation. This interaction is a key driver of population regulation and evolutionary change. 1. Predators' role in population control. Predators play a critical role in maintaining ecosystem health by preventing prey populations from growing unchecked. Without predators, prey species could overpopulate, depleting vegetation and disrupting ecological balance. Trophic cascades. Predators influence multiple levels of the food web. For instance, by controlling herbivore populations, predators allow vegetation to recover, benefiting other species. Example: wolves in Yellowstone National Park regulate elk numbers, reducing overgrazing and allowing aspen and willow trees to thrive. Selective pressure. Predators often target the weakest or slowest individuals, such as the sick, old, or young. This natural selection strengthens prey populations by favoring individuals with better survival traits. Example: lions hunting wildebeests often cull weaker members, improving the herd's overall health. 2. Prey's role in predator behavior. Prey populations influence predator abundance, hunting strategies, and movement patterns. When prey numbers decline, predators may adapt by expanding their range to find new food sources, switching to alternative prey species, altering dynamics in other parts of the ecosystem. Example: Arctic foxes, which primarily feed on lemmings, experience population fluctuations that mirror lemming cycles. When lemmings are scarce, foxes may hunt birds or scavenge. Population dynamics, cycles, and feedback loops. Predator and prey populations are interconnected, often displaying cyclical patterns driven by resource availability and natural feedback mechanisms. 1. Boom and bust cycles. Many predator-prey relationships follow a predictable cycle of population growth and decline. As prey populations increase, predators have more food, leading to a rise in predator numbers. Over time, increased predation reduces prey numbers, causing predator populations to decline as well. The prey population then begins to recover, restarting the cycle. Example: the snowshoe hare and Canada lynx in boreal forests exhibit a 10-year population cycle, with hare abundance driving lynx numbers. When hares are plentiful, lynx thrive. As hare numbers decline, lynx populations also decrease, allowing hares to recover. 2. Density-dependent regulation. Predator-prey dynamics are often influenced by density-dependent factors, where population density affects the survival and reproduction of a species. High prey density. Easier for predators to find and catch prey, leading to increased predation rates. Low prey density. Prey becomes harder to find, reducing predator survival and reproduction. Example: in grasslands, cheetahs are more successful at hunting gazelles when prey density is high but struggle to find food during periods of scarcity. Adaptations in predators and prey. The predator-prey relationship has driven remarkable adaptations in both groups, showcasing nature's ingenuity in the face of survival challenges. 1. Predator adaptations. Predators have evolved specialized traits and behaviors to catch and consume prey efficiently. Physical adaptations. Sharp teeth, claws, and powerful jaws. Example: big cats like tigers and lions have retractable claws for gripping prey. Behavioral strategies. Stealth, speed, and ambush techniques. Example: wolves hunt in packs, coordinating their efforts to take down larger prey. Sensory enhancements. Acute vision, hearing, and smell to detect prey. Example: hawks have sharp eyesight to spot small animals from great distances. 2. Prey adaptations. Prey species have developed a range of defenses to avoid predation. Physical defenses. Armor, spines, and shells. Example: armadillos roll into a protective ball when threatened. Camouflage and mimicry. Blending into the environment or imitating more dangerous species. Example: stick insects resemble twigs, while some butterflies mimic toxic species. Behavioral strategies. Flocking, herding, or group vigilance to reduce individual risk. Example: zebras graze in herds, making it harder for predators to target a single individual. Chemical defenses. Producing toxins or foul-tasting substances. Example: poison dart frogs secrete toxic chemicals to deter predators. Keystone predators and ecosystem stability. Some predators, known as keystone predators, have an outsized influence on their ecosystems. By controlling prey populations, they maintain biodiversity and prevent domination by a single species. Example: sea otters in kelp forests. Sea otters feed on sea urchins, preventing them from overgrazing kelp forests. Without otters, urchin populations would explode, destroying the kelp and the habitats it supports. Example: wolves in Yellowstone. Wolves regulate elk numbers, allowing vegetation and other species to recover, illustrating how predators shape entire ecosystems. Human impacts on predator-prey dynamics. Human activities often disrupt natural predator-prey relationships, with far-reaching consequences for ecosystems. 1. Predator removal. Hunting, habitat destruction, and persecution have reduced predator populations in many regions. Without predators, prey populations can grow unchecked, leading to overgrazing and habitat degradation. Example: the removal of wolves from Yellowstone in the 20th century caused elk populations to surge, leading to the overgrazing of vegetation. The subsequent reintroduction of wolves restored balance. 2. Invasive species. Invasive predators and prey disrupt native ecosystems by introducing new dynamics. Example: Feral cats and rats introduced to islands have devastated native bird populations that evolved without predators. 3. Conservation efforts. Efforts to restore predator-prey dynamics often focus on reintroducing predators or managing prey populations. Example: reintroduction of lynx to European forests has helped control deer populations, allowing forest regeneration. The interplay between predators, prey, and population control is a cornerstone of ecological balance. These relationships drive the cycles of life, shape biodiversity, and highlight the intricate connections that sustain terrestrial ecosystems. Through their interactions, predators and prey ensure that ecosystems remain dynamic, resilient, and full of life. Chapter 11. Edge Effects and Fragmentation. Ecosystems are not isolated entities, they exist as part of a broader mosaic of habitats that interact and overlap. However, human activities such as urbanization, deforestation, and agriculture have increasingly broken these natural landscapes into smaller, disconnected patches. This process, known as habitat fragmentation, creates edges, zones where one habitat transitions into another. These edges bring about profound changes in the physical environment, biodiversity, and ecological dynamics, collectively referred to as edge effects. Edge effects and fragmentation are central to understanding modern ecosystem dynamics as they influence species survival, ecosystem stability, and the flow of energy and nutrients. These changes reveal both the resilience of nature and the challenges posed by human-induced environmental alterations. What are edge effects? Edge effects occur at the boundary, or edge, where two distinct ecosystems meet, such as a forest bordering a grassland or a wetland adjacent to an agricultural field. These edges are often areas of high biodiversity and ecological activity due to the blending of species and environmental conditions from both habitats. 1. Characteristics of edge zones. Edges differ significantly from the interior of ecosystems. Microclimate changes. Increased sunlight, wind exposure, and temperature fluctuations. Example: forest edges experience higher temperatures and lower humidity than the forest interior. Increased accessibility. Edges are more accessible to species from adjacent habitats, creating unique interactions. Example: predators from open areas may hunt prey that lives near the forest edge. Plant and animal composition. Edges often host a mix of species from both habitats and some uniquely adapted to edge environments. Example: deer may frequent edges to forage on both forest plants and grassland vegetation. 2. Positive and negative impacts of edge effects. Edge effects can have both beneficial and detrimental consequences, depending on the context. Positive impacts. Increased biodiversity. The blending of habitats supports species richness, particularly for plants, insects, and small mammals. Enhanced productivity. Edge zones may produce more food resources due to increased sunlight and varied vegetation. Negative impacts. Habitat degradation. Microclimate changes can make edges unsuitable for interior species, reducing biodiversity. Increased predation and competition. Predators and invasive species may thrive at edges, threatening native populations. Example: forest birds nesting near edges are more vulnerable to predation by cats and other edge-adapted predators. What is habitat fragmentation? Habitat fragmentation is the process by which large, continuous habitats are divided into smaller, isolated patches. It is often caused by human activities like logging, road construction, and urban expansion. Fragmentation disrupts natural landscapes, creating more edges and fewer intact interior habitats. 1. Causes of fragmentation. Deforestation. Clearing forests for agriculture or development reduces habitat size and continuity. Infrastructure development. Roads, railways, and urban areas fragment landscapes, cutting through natural habitats. Agricultural expansion. Fields and pastures replace native vegetation, dividing ecosystems into smaller patches. 2. Impacts of fragmentation on ecosystems. Fragmentation alters the structure and function of ecosystems in several key ways. Loss of habitat. Smaller patches support fewer species, leading to population declines and extinction. Example: large mammals like tigers and elephants require extensive territories and struggle in fragmented habitats. Isolation of populations. Fragmented landscapes isolate populations, reducing genetic diversity and limiting opportunities for migration or dispersal. Example: frogs in isolated wetlands may experience inbreeding and reduced resilience to environmental changes. Increased edge effects. As fragmentation creates more edges, species adapted to interior habitats are displaced. Example: forest interior birds are outcompeted by edge-adapted species like cowbirds. Disrupted ecological processes. Fragmentation alters nutrient cycling, water flow, and seed dispersal. Example: pollinators may struggle to move between fragmented flower populations, reducing plant reproduction. Edge effects and species interactions. Edge effects and fragmentation influence how species interact with one another, often reshaping food webs and ecological roles. 1. Predation and parasitism. Edges provide hunting grounds for predators that exploit the openness and access of these zones. Example: coyotes are more likely to hunt along edges where prey is more visible. Parasitism may increase at edges where host species are concentrated. Example: cowbirds, which lay their eggs in the nests of other birds, thrive at forest edges, impacting interior bird populations. 2. Competition. Edges create overlap between species from adjacent habitats, increasing competition for resources. Example: native plants near agricultural fields may compete with invasive weeds introduced by human activity. 3. Invasive species. Fragmentation often facilitates the spread of invasive species, which thrive in disturbed edge environments. Example: kudzu, an invasive vine, spreads rapidly along forest edges, smothering native plants. Mitigating the impacts of fragmentation. While edge effects and fragmentation pose significant challenges, conservation strategies can help mitigate their impacts. 1. Wildlife corridors. Wildlife corridors connect fragmented habitats, allowing species to move freely and maintain genetic diversity. Example: overpasses and underpasses for animals on highways reduce roadkill and facilitate safe migration. 2. Buffer zones. Creating buffer zones of native vegetation around habitat patches reduces the intensity of edge effects. Example: planting native shrubs along forest edges helps shield interior habitats from wind and sunlight. 3. Restoration of habitat patches. Reconnecting fragmented habitats through reforestation or wetland restoration increases patch size and reduces isolation. Example: reforestation projects in the Amazon aim to link isolated forest patches, benefiting wildlife and biodiversity. Edge effects and fragmentation are central to understanding how human activity reshapes terrestrial ecosystems. These processes highlight the intricate balance between habitat integrity, species interactions, and ecological stability. While edges can foster biodiversity and productivity, excessive fragmentation undermines ecosystem health, requiring thoughtful conservation and management to preserve the natural balance of life on Earth. Chapter 12. Ecological Stability and Disturbances. Terrestrial ecosystems are remarkable in their ability to maintain balance and function over time, even in the face of natural and human-induced challenges. This capacity, known as ecological stability, enables ecosystems to sustain biodiversity, energy flow, and nutrient cycling despite fluctuations in environmental conditions. However, stability is not synonymous with unchanging. Disturbances, whether natural or anthropogenic, are integral to ecosystem dynamics, shaping landscapes and driving evolution. Understanding ecological stability and the role of disturbances provides insight into the resilience and adaptability of ecosystems. It highlights the interplay between stability, change, and the forces that shape terrestrial ecosystems. What is ecological stability? Ecological stability refers to an ecosystem's ability to maintain its structure and functions over time. Stability is not about resisting change entirely, but rather about how ecosystems respond to and recover from disturbances. Stability can be viewed through several dimensions. 1. Resistance. The ability of an ecosystem to withstand disturbances without significant alteration. Example: old-growth forests often resist minor disturbances, like windstorms, due to their well-established structure. 2. Resilience. The ability of an ecosystem to recover quickly after a disturbance. Example: grasslands regenerate rapidly after wildfires, returning to their previous state. 3. Persistence. The capacity of an ecosystem to endure over time, despite ongoing changes or pressures. Example: tundra ecosystems persist under extreme conditions of cold and limited resources. 4. Adaptability. The ability of ecosystems to adjust to new conditions or changes in the environment. Example: coastal wetlands adapt to rising sea levels by accumulating sediment and organic material. Factors influencing ecological stability. Several factors contribute to the stability of terrestrial ecosystems, determining their capacity to resist or recover from disturbances. 1. Biodiversity. Biodiversity enhances stability by providing redundancy and flexibility within ecosystems. A diverse ecosystem has multiple species that can fulfill similar roles, ensuring that essential functions continue even if some species are lost. Example: in a forest with diverse plant species, if one species succumbs to disease, others can maintain the ecosystem's productivity. 2. Complexity of food webs. Ecosystems with complex food webs are often more stable because they distribute energy and interactions across many species, reducing the impact of disruptions at any single level. Example: a diverse predator community in a savanna helps regulate herbivore populations, preventing overgrazing and maintaining vegetation. 3. Habitat connectivity. Connected habitats allow for species migration and gene flow, improving resilience to disturbances and environmental changes. Example: wildlife corridors linking fragmented forests enable animals to move to safer areas after a fire or storm. 4. Climate and geography. Stable climates and favorable geographic conditions contribute to ecological stability. However, extreme climates or isolated locations may make ecosystems more vulnerable to change. Example: tropical rainforests in stable climates host highly resilient ecosystems, while island ecosystems may be more fragile due to isolation. The role of disturbances in ecosystems. Disturbances are events that disrupt the structure or function of an ecosystem. While often seen as destructive, disturbances can also drive ecological renewal, shaping ecosystems in profound and positive ways. 1. Natural disturbances. Natural disturbances are part of the evolutionary fabric of ecosystems, creating opportunities for renewal and adaptation. Examples of natural disturbances: wildfires. Clear old vegetation, release nutrients, and stimulate new growth. Example: pine forests in the southeastern United States rely on periodic fires to maintain their health and biodiversity. Storms. Knock down trees, creating gaps that allow sunlight to reach the forest floor and support new plant growth. Example: hurricanes in coastal forests create opportunities for pioneer species to thrive. Floods replenish wetlands and deposit nutrient-rich sediment on floodplains. Example: seasonal flooding of the Nile River historically enriched agricultural lands. Droughts favor drought-tolerant species and shape plant and animal communities. Example: savannas experience periodic droughts, influencing the distribution of grasses and trees. 2. Human-induced disturbances. Human activities have introduced new types of disturbances that often exceed the capacity of ecosystems to adapt or recover. Examples of human-induced disturbances: deforestation removes habitat, disrupts nutrient cycles, and reduces biodiversity. Example: tropical deforestation for agriculture in the Amazon threatens countless species and destabilizes global climate systems. Pollution alters soil, water, and air quality, affecting ecosystem health. Example: acid rain damages forests and freshwater ecosystems, altering their composition and function. Urbanization fragments habitats and introduces edge effects that disrupt ecosystem dynamics. Example: expanding cities in grasslands displace native species and introduce invasive plants. Climate change alters temperature, precipitation, and weather patterns, creating unprecedented challenges for ecosystems. Example: melting permafrost in Arctic tundra releases stored carbon, accelerating climate change and destabilizing local ecosystems. Disturbances and succession. Disturbances often initiate ecological succession, the process by which ecosystems recover and develop over time. Succession allows ecosystems to rebuild, often with greater complexity and diversity. 1. Primary succession. Primary succession occurs in areas where no life previously existed, such as newly formed volcanic landscapes or retreating glaciers. Example: in Hawaii, lava flows are colonized by lichens and mosses, paving the way for grasses, shrubs, and eventually forests. 2. Secondary succession. Secondary succession occurs in areas where ecosystems are disrupted but soil and seeds remain intact, such as after a wildfire or farming abandonment. Example: after a forest fire, grasses and shrubs quickly establish, followed by trees like pines or oaks over decades. Thresholds and ecosystem collapse. While many ecosystems are resilient, repeated or severe disturbances can push them beyond their thresholds, leading to collapse or permanent changes. Tipping points. When an ecosystem experiences too many changes, it may shift to a new state that is less productive or biodiverse. Example: overgrazing in grasslands can lead to desertification, where the soil becomes too degraded to support plant growth. Loss of keystone species. Removing key species can destabilize ecosystems, causing cascading effects throughout the food web. Example: the removal of sea otters from kelp forests allows sea urchins to overgraze, destroying the habitat. Ecological stability and disturbances are intertwined forces that define terrestrial ecosystems. Stability enables ecosystems to endure and thrive, while disturbances drive adaptation and renewal. Together, they shape the dynamic and resilient nature of life on Earth, highlighting both its vulnerability and its capacity for recovery. Chapter 13. Invasive Species and Ecosystem Disruption. Invasive species are one of the greatest threats to the health and stability of terrestrial ecosystems. These non-native organisms, whether plants, animals, or pathogens, can spread rapidly in new environments, outcompeting native species, altering food webs, and disrupting ecological processes. While some non-native species integrate harmlessly into ecosystems, invasive species often cause extensive and irreversible damage, reshaping landscapes and threatening biodiversity. The impact of invasive species highlights the interconnectedness of ecosystems and the profound effects that seemingly small disruptions can have on ecological balance. Understanding the causes and consequences of invasions, as well as strategies for prevention and management, is critical to protecting the resilience of terrestrial ecosystems. What are invasive species? Invasive species are organisms introduced to an ecosystem where they are not naturally found, either intentionally or accidentally. While not all non-native species are harmful, invasive species are characterized by their ability to spread aggressively and cause ecological, economic, or social harm. Characteristics of invasive species: rapid reproduction and growth, lack of natural predators or controls in the new environment, ability to outcompete native species for resources, high tolerance for a range of environmental conditions. Pathways of introduction. Invasive species are often introduced through human activities, both deliberate and accidental. 1. Deliberate introductions. Species introduced intentionally for agriculture, landscaping, or pest control can become invasive when they escape cultivation. Example: kudzu, introduced to the United States for erosion control, has spread uncontrollably across the southeast, smothering native vegetation. 2. Accidental introductions. Species can hitchhike on ships, planes, or vehicles, entering ecosystems inadvertently. Example: the brown tree snake was accidentally introduced to Guam through cargo shipments, devastating native bird populations. 3. Global trade and travel. Increased globalization has accelerated the movement of species across continents. Example: zebra mussels were transported to North America in ship ballast water, spreading rapidly in freshwater systems. Impacts of invasive species on ecosystems. Invasive species can profoundly alter ecosystems, with effects that ripple through food webs and ecological processes. 1. Competition with native species. Invasive species often outcompete native species for resources such as food, water, and habitat. Example: the European starling, introduced to North America, aggressively competes with native birds for nesting sites, reducing native bird populations. 2. Predation and herbivory. Invasive predators or herbivores can devastate native species unprepared to defend against them. Example: in Australia, invasive feral cats and red foxes have contributed to the decline of many small mammals. Example: goats introduced to island ecosystems often overgraze native plants, leading to erosion and habitat loss. 3. Alteration of ecosystem processes. Invasive species can disrupt natural processes such as fire cycles, nutrient cycling, and water availability. Example: cheatgrass, an invasive grass in the western United States, increases the frequency and intensity of wildfires, damaging native shrubland ecosystems. Example: tamarisk trees in the southwestern United States consume large amounts of water, lowering water tables and displacing native plants. 4. Disease transmission. Some invasive species act as vectors for diseases that affect native plants and animals. Example: the chestnut blight fungus, introduced to North America from Asia, wiped out American chestnut trees across their range. Example: the chytrid fungus, spread by invasive amphibians, has caused mass declines in native frog populations worldwide. Case studies: invasive species in terrestrial ecosystems. 1. The Burmese python in the Florida Everglades. Introduced through the pet trade, Burmese pythons have established breeding populations in the Everglades. Impact: these large snakes prey on a wide range of native species, including birds, mammals, and reptiles, leading to declines in populations of raccoons, possums, and deer. 2. The European rabbit in Australia. Introduced for hunting in the 18th century, European rabbits have become one of Australia's most destructive invasive species. Impact. Rabbits overgraze vegetation, causing soil erosion and threatening native plants and animals. Despite efforts like the release of rabbit-specific viruses, their population remains a challenge to control. 3. Japanese knotweed in Europe and North America. Originally introduced as an ornamental plant, Japanese knotweed spreads aggressively along rivers and roadsides. Impact. It displaces native plants, reduces biodiversity, and causes structural damage to buildings and infrastructure. Why are invasive species so successful? The success of invasive species is often attributed to several key factors. 1. Escape from natural enemies. In their native habitats, species are kept in check by predators, parasites, and diseases. In new environments, these controls are absent, allowing invasive species to thrive. 2. Generalist adaptations. Many invasive species are generalists, able to survive in a variety of conditions and exploit multiple food sources. Example: wild boars adapt to diverse habitats and diets, enabling them to invade ecosystems worldwide. 3. Rapid reproduction. Invasive species often reproduce quickly, outpacing the ability of native species to compete. Example: Asian carp in North America can lay hundreds of thousands of eggs per year, overwhelming native fish populations. Economic and social impacts. The effects of invasive species extend beyond ecosystems, imposing significant economic and social costs. 1. Agricultural losses. Invasive pests destroy crops and reduce yields, costing billions annually in control measures and lost production. Example: the fall armyworm, an invasive pest in Africa, threatens maize production, a staple food for millions. 2. Infrastructure damage. Some species cause damage to roads, bridges, and waterways. Example: tree roots from invasive species like black locusts can weaken infrastructure, while zebra mussels clog water intake pipes. 3. Cultural impacts. Invasive species can threaten culturally significant plants and animals, disrupting traditional practices and livelihoods. Example: invasive water hyacinth in Lake Victoria impedes fishing, a vital livelihood for local communities. Managing invasive species. Efforts to manage invasive species focus on prevention, control, and restoration. 1. Prevention. Strict regulations on trade, transport, and quarantine can reduce the introduction of invasive species. Example: international ballast water standards aim to prevent the spread of aquatic invasives. 2. Control. Methods include mechanical removal, chemical treatments, and biological control, introducing natural predators or pathogens. Example: biological control of prickly pear cacti in Australia using a specific moth species helped reduce infestations. 3. Restoration. Replanting native vegetation and reintroducing native species can help ecosystems recover from invasions. Example: wetland restoration projects in the United States focus on removing invasive phragmites and restoring native plants. Invasive species are a global challenge that reshapes ecosystems, threatens biodiversity, and imposes significant costs on society. Their ability to exploit new environments underscores the interconnected nature of Earth's ecosystems and the need for vigilant management to protect the delicate balance of terrestrial life. Chapter 14. The Role of Climate Change in Dynamics. Climate change is reshaping the dynamics of terrestrial ecosystems in profound and unprecedented ways. Rising global temperatures, shifting precipitation patterns, and more frequent extreme weather events are altering how ecosystems function, how species interact, and how landscapes evolve. As these changes accelerate, they create ripple effects across the intricate web of life, challenging the resilience of ecosystems and the species that depend on them. Understanding the role of climate change in ecosystem dynamics is critical to grasping how terrestrial systems adapt, or fail to adapt, to rapid environmental transformations. It reveals the interconnectedness of climate, biodiversity, and ecosystem processes while underscoring the challenges of navigating an uncertain ecological future. How climate change affects ecosystems. Climate change affects ecosystems through a combination of gradual shifts and sudden disruptions. These impacts can be direct, such as rising temperatures, or indirect, such as changes in species distribution or resource availability. 1. Rising temperatures. Global temperatures have risen significantly over the past century, with widespread effects on ecosystems. Impact on plant growth. Warmer temperatures extend growing seasons in some regions but also increase stress on plants in others. Example: in temperate forests, warmer springs lead to earlier leaf out, but prolonged heat can stress trees and reduce productivity. Impact on animals. Many animals are shifting their ranges toward cooler regions, such as higher altitudes or latitudes, disrupting existing ecosystems. Example: the American pika, a cold-adapted mammal, is retreating to higher elevations in response to warming. 2. Changes in precipitation patterns. Climate change is causing wetter conditions in some regions and drier conditions in others, altering the availability of water, a critical resource for terrestrial ecosystems. Droughts. Increased frequency and severity of drought stress plants and animals, leading to declines in biodiversity and ecosystem productivity. Example: in the southwestern United States, prolonged droughts have contributed to widespread tree die-offs in forests. Flooding and heavy rainfall. Intense rainfall events erode soil, disrupt nutrient cycles, and flood habitats. Example: flooding in lowland forests can drown plants and displace terrestrial animals. 3. Extreme weather events. Climate change is amplifying the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events such as hurricanes, heat waves, and wildfires. Hurricanes and storms. Stronger storms damage vegetation, uproot trees, and create habitat fragmentation. Example: hurricanes in coastal forests create gaps in the canopy, altering light conditions and allowing invasive species to spread. Heat waves. Extreme heat can cause mass die-offs of heat-sensitive species, especially those unable to migrate or adapt. Example: coral reefs experience bleaching during marine heat waves, and similar effects are seen in terrestrial systems among amphibians and insects. Impact on biodiversity. Climate change is one of the primary drivers of biodiversity loss, as it disrupts habitats, food webs, and species interactions. 1. Range shifts. Species are moving toward higher altitudes or latitudes in search of suitable climates. These shifts can create new ecological interactions or disrupt existing ones. Winners and losers. Some species adapt quickly or benefit from the new conditions, while others struggle to survive. Example: boreal forests are expanding northward as tundra ecosystems retreat, threatening cold-adapted species like the Arctic fox. Fragmented habitats. Climate-induced range shifts may isolate populations, reducing genetic diversity and increasing extinction risk. 2. Phenological mismatches. Climate change is altering the timing of natural events, such as flowering, migration, and reproduction. When species fail to synchronize their life cycles with the changing environment, it can disrupt entire ecosystems. Example: birds migrating earlier in spring may arrive before insects or plants, reducing their food availability and impacting reproduction. 3. Invasive species expansion. Warming temperatures allow invasive species to expand into new regions, outcompeting native species and altering ecosystem dynamics. Example: the spread of invasive grasses like buffelgrass in arid regions increases wildfire risk, threatening native plants and animals. Ecosystem processes under climate change. Climate change is not just affecting species, it is altering fundamental ecosystem processes that sustain life on Earth. 1. Carbon sequestration. Forests and grasslands act as carbon sinks, absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. However, climate change threatens their ability to perform this critical function. Forest dieback. Droughts, heat, and pests weaken forests, reducing their capacity to sequester carbon. Example: the Amazon rainforest, once a major carbon sink, is at risk of becoming a net carbon emitter due to deforestation and climate stress. Permafrost thaw. Melting permafrost in Arctic regions releases stored carbon and methane, exacerbating climate change. 2. Nutrient cycling. Changes in temperature and precipitation disrupt nutrient cycling, affecting soil fertility and plant growth. Example: warming accelerates decomposition, releasing nutrients quickly but also depleting long-term soil reserves, which can limit plant growth. 3. Fire regimes. Climate change is altering fire regimes, with profound effects on terrestrial ecosystems. Increased wildfire frequency. Hotter and drier conditions create more frequent and intense fires, reshaping landscapes. Example: in California, wildfires fueled by climate change are transforming forests into shrublands, reducing biodiversity. Human and ecological responses. The impacts of climate change on terrestrial ecosystems are driving efforts to understand, adapt, and mitigate its effects. 1. Conservation strategies. Efforts to preserve biodiversity and ecosystem function include protecting climate refugia, areas that remain relatively stable despite climate change, and creating wildlife corridors to facilitate species migration. Example: in Yellowstone, wildlife corridors connect habitats, allowing species to adapt to changing conditions. 2. Restoration projects. Restoring degraded ecosystems can enhance their resilience to climate change. Example: reforestation projects in degraded tropical forests not only sequester carbon but also restore habitats for biodiversity. 3. Ecosystem-based adaptation. Integrating ecosystems into climate adaptation strategies helps reduce the impact of climate change on both humans and the environment. Example: restoring mangroves along coastlines buffers communities against storm surges while providing critical habitat for wildlife. Climate change is profoundly altering the dynamics of terrestrial ecosystems, challenging their stability and resilience. By reshaping habitats, species interactions, and ecosystem processes, it is testing the adaptability of life on Earth in ways never before seen. As ecosystems respond to these changes, they reveal both the fragility and the resilience of the natural world in the face of unprecedented environmental transformation. Chapter 15. Dynamic Systems and the Future. Terrestrial ecosystems are dynamic systems, constantly adapting and evolving in response to environmental changes and species interactions. These systems, while resilient, are facing unprecedented challenges in the modern era. Climate change, habitat fragmentation, invasive species, pollution, and human expansion are reshaping the landscapes and ecological processes that have sustained life for millions of years. The future of terrestrial ecosystems depends on understanding their dynamics, their ability to respond to disturbances, recover, and adapt. By viewing ecosystems as dynamic rather than static entities, we can better appreciate their complexity and devise strategies to support their continued functionality in an uncertain future. Dynamic systems in ecology. Dynamic systems in ecology refer to the ever-changing nature of ecosystems as they interact with biotic, living, and abiotic, non-living, factors. These systems are governed by cycles, feedback loops, and the interplay of stability and change. 1. Resilience and recovery. Resilience is the capacity of an ecosystem to absorb disturbances and reorganize while maintaining its functions and structure. Natural resilience. Many ecosystems have inherent mechanisms to recover from disturbances such as wildfires, storms, or droughts. Example: grasslands regenerate quickly after fires, with deep root systems that promote rapid regrowth. Thresholds and tipping points. When disturbances are too frequent or severe, ecosystems may cross thresholds, leading to permanent changes. Example: overgrazed savannas can transition into deserts, a process known as desertification. 2. Feedback loops. Dynamic systems are influenced by feedback loops that either reinforce change, positive feedback, or stabilize conditions, negative feedback. Positive feedback. Melting Arctic ice reduces reflectivity, albedo, causing more heat absorption and accelerating further melting. Negative feedback. Healthy predator-prey relationships regulate population sizes, preventing overgrazing or prey depletion. 3. Human impacts on dynamics. Human activities often disrupt the natural dynamics of ecosystems, reducing their ability to recover or adapt. Example: deforestation in tropical rainforests disrupts water cycles, leading to reduced rainfall and further degradation. The future of biodiversity. Biodiversity underpins the stability and resilience of terrestrial ecosystems, yet it is under threat from numerous pressures. 1. Habitat loss and fragmentation. As human populations expand, natural habitats are being converted for agriculture, urban development, and infrastructure. Impact on species. Species with large ranges, such as tigers or elephants, face heightened extinction risks due to habitat loss and fragmentation. Impact on ecosystem services. Fragmentation reduces the ability of ecosystems to provide services like pollination, water purification, and climate regulation. 2. Climate change and species adaptation. Climate change is altering the distributions of species and ecosystems, creating winners and losers in the process. Range shifts. Many species are migrating to cooler regions, but barriers like mountains, cities, or oceans limit their movement. Example: alpine plants are shifting to higher altitudes where space is limited. Extinction risks. Species unable to adapt or migrate face extinction. This is particularly true for specialized species with narrow habitat requirements. 3. Invasive species and ecosystem balance. The spread of invasive species is reshaping ecosystems by outcompeting native species and altering ecological dynamics. Future challenges. Globalization and climate change are expected to facilitate the spread of invasive species, increasing their impact on ecosystems. Technological and scientific advances. Advances in science and technology offer new tools for understanding and managing terrestrial ecosystems. 1. Monitoring and data collection. Modern technologies provide unprecedented insights into ecosystem dynamics. Remote sensing. Satellites monitor deforestation, vegetation health, and climate patterns in real time. Example: the use of satellite imagery to track Amazon rainforest loss helps inform conservation policies. Big data and AI. Machine learning algorithms analyze vast datasets to predict ecosystem responses to environmental changes. Example: predictive models help forecast species distribution shifts under different climate scenarios. 2. Conservation and restoration. Science-based conservation strategies aim to restore ecosystems and mitigate human impacts. Rewilding. Reintroducing species to restore ecological balance and processes. Example: reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park revitalized the ecosystem by regulating herbivore populations. Assisted migration. Moving species to areas where they are more likely to survive as climates change. Example: relocating trees to higher altitudes to preserve biodiversity in warming regions. 3. Ecosystem-based solutions. Integrating ecosystem processes into solutions for human challenges creates win-win scenarios. Nature-based climate solutions. Protecting and restoring ecosystems that store carbon, such as forests and wetlands, helps mitigate climate change while supporting biodiversity. Example: mangrove restoration projects protect coastal communities from storm surges while sequestering carbon. The role of humans in shaping the future. Human actions will determine the future of terrestrial ecosystems. Efforts to reduce impacts, restore degraded landscapes, and coexist sustainably with nature are crucial. 1. Sustainable land use. Balancing human needs with ecosystem health requires innovative approaches to land management. Agroforestry. Integrating trees into agricultural landscapes provides benefits such as soil stabilization, carbon storage, and wildlife habitat. Example: shade-grown coffee plantations support both biodiversity and local economies. Urban green spaces. Incorporating parks, green roofs, and urban forests into cities improves air quality, reduces heat, and supports urban biodiversity. 2. Policy and collaboration. Global collaboration is essential to address challenges that cross borders, such as climate change and biodiversity loss. International agreements. Treaties like the Paris Agreement aim to limit global warming, reducing pressure on ecosystems. Community-led conservation. Empowering local communities to manage natural resources sustainably benefits both people and ecosystems. Example: indigenous land management practices in the Amazon promote forest conservation while supporting cultural traditions. The future of terrestrial ecosystems will be shaped by their dynamic nature and humanity's ability to work with, not against, these systems. By understanding and respecting the complexity of ecological dynamics, we can chart a path toward a world where ecosystems continue to thrive, providing the foundation for life on Earth.